I now recognize Representative Strong for his 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to first thank our witnesses for being here today for their contributions to this critical discussion. Mr. Cuccinelli, according to the Department of Homeland Security, nonprofit organizations occasionally serve as sponsors on parole applications. How frequently do nonprofit organizations serve in this role, and what are the implications of their involvement?
I don't have exact numbers, but it is very common. They also do it, it isn't a one-off. So you have organizations that are being sponsors for large numbers of people. And I would just point out, this concept of sponsorship is as old as the American immigration system, but the fact of the matter is, in our adult lifetimes, sponsors have not, repeat, not, been held accountable to what are the supposed requirements of sponsors. And that has just never happened under any administration. So it's easy for the nonprofits or any individual to do this. We have individuals sponsoring scores of people as well, dozens, I should say, be the high end, which they could never financially fulfill the obligations if they were called on to do so for everyone they're sponsoring. So this whole system is broken, and thus it's very easy for a nonprofit to step in there as one part of its agenda to bring larger numbers of folks into the U.S.
Thank you. I'm glad to see that this administration is placing national security first and is taking the necessary actions to restore integrity and accountability to our immigration system. Mr. Cuccinelli, can you discuss the role that state and local law enforcement play in supporting ICE with parole removal orders, as well as any challenges that they see?
So first of all, this is all more work for all of them to do if they're willing to do it. Making the news all the time are the states and localities that refuse to cooperate with ICE, and under the 10th Amendment, the federal government can't simply demand local or state cooperation. Now, as your annual budget comes up September 30th, you can write it into the law. This was litigated in the first Trump administration, and without specific budget requirements tying cooperation to the cutting off of funding, then the federal government doesn't have a tool to compel this cooperation. For those that do cooperate, we famously we're seeing it in Florida, and we can go all around the country at the localities in many of your states that are cooperating. Yes, it's easier, believe it or not, to target the criminals because they pop onto your radar. They pop onto your radar. They may be 2.5%, 3%, 4%, 5% of the total population, and I've heard complaints that they're only 30% of those being deported. I would point out that they're 10 times their proportion in the population of illegal aliens being focused on. So that security and safety element is a priority numerically and proportionally.
Thank you. Switching gears a little bit, Mr. Camarota, you and I both know that America deserves an immigration system that prioritizes their interest in public safety above all else. Can you further expand on the physical burdens placed on American taxpayers when parolees begin receiving welfare benefits? And are there types of financial benefits that parolees qualify for that other illegal aliens do not?
Yeah, so especially with that qualified alien provision that now apparently, as I read the big beautiful bill, is not going to apply. But the thing you have to keep in mind is that probably played some role, but what's driving the high use of public services is the low educational attainment of parolees and their low income, the presence of US-born children, which isn't changing with the law, the fact that some states give them benefits, some programs are allowed to be used like WIC and free school lunch and emergency Medicaid and Medicaid for pregnant women. So there are these other factors. In other words, if you had to, the bottom line is people who come to America, even those who work, and as I point out, they have relatively high rates of work. If they have very modest levels of education, they make extensive use of the social safety net. And it's not because they're lazy. It's not because they all came to get welfare. It's just the reality of modern America. You have to be very selective or you're going to get kicked in the teeth in fiscal costs. That's just how it is when it comes to immigration.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield.